What's the most dangerous place in your country? Here in Brazil, we have the Ilha de Queimada Grande, or Snake Island as it became better known. It is the place with the highest concentration of venomous snakes in the world and is considered by some people as one of the deadliest islands known. Here in the UK we call it the Parliament in Westminster. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. Norway, probably Svalbard, where you could get lost or get eaten by a polar bear. I would say the various mountain trails that appeal to Norwegians and tourists. So many people hike these trails in remote parts of the country without proper equipment and knowledge. My girlfriend is an experienced mountain hiker and told me of an instance where she was walking a trail with a friend where they met a family. My girlfriend and her friend were both in proper clothes that are water and wind resistant. They wore good hiking boots and were carrying backpacks with equipment like maps, compass, provisions, tools, etc. The family they met were foreign tourists, a couple with 3 kids. The kids ranged from 6 years old to an infant that was no more than 9 months old. They were all wearing shorts, t-shirt and simple shoes. I think the wife was even wearing flip-flops. On this specific trail they were basically wandering from cabin to cabin. These cabins are spread across the trail and managed by a tourism association. They provide overnight accommodation and meals for hikers. In many cases it is a full day's hike from cabin to cabin, and it is exactly on one of these hikes that this family was going on. They were clearly unprepared for this trip and had to be airlifted out by an emergency helicopter. What most people aren't aware of is that death is not off the table in these circumstances. People might end up in a spot of bad weather, like rain or snow even in mid-July. Or they deviate from the path and injure themselves or die from exposure or falling. Tropical North Queensland, salties, box jellyfish, stonefish and cassowaries all readily available to mess up your day. Someone has clearly never been in a Hungry Jack's car park past 9:30 p.m. Of course I haven't, that's way past my bedtime, mate. The Alps. Most people underestimate the dangers of mountainous terrain. I went way up into the Alps at night on a bus a few years back. I kept thinking how if I got dumped even just a quarter mile from the road I'd probably end up dead. Everything was so vast and remote and cold. Really frightened me actually. In Myanmar? Everywhere. Not even safe in our own house. West Baltimore. They had a free guns for cash exchange at a police station a few years back. Someone handed in a grenade launcher. Edit, I'm being told it was a rocket launcher. Also, free sounds weird in my sentence. I meant to say if you had a felony, or otherwise was not supposed to have a gun, they gave you the cash, and you were free from prosecution, there were no questions asked. I am watching The Wire ATM. Seems like they convey the atmosphere quite well. Finland, this is kinda hard. Maybe some train stations on the weekend after midnight? It's pretty hard to die here even shit-faced drunk, and nearly impossible sober. I'd say it's the frozen streets in spring when there's a thin layer of water on top. This is better answer. Both walking and driving. I live in Mexico and I need more than an hour and a hug to be able to name the dangerous places, and I would miss many more to name. A friend of mine is from Chihuahua. He said it was pretty bad, not sure if there is worse. I remember him specifically telling me he couldn't keep his windows down in the heat because people reached in his car to steal anything they could at red lights. Ho amigo, I live near Tierra Caliente. If you want, search for Uruapan, Tierra Caliente. Turn on the translator and go to the news. There really are areas and towns that look like war zones. At least I live in the quiet part of this hell, and your friend is not lying to you. Chihuahua is also somewhat of a place. Everywhere, South Africa BTW. Edit, thanks everyone for the support on this comment, felt unreal. Just had a pretty crap day, but this made me forget about it entirely. I'll try to answer any questions ASAP. But here's some probably useless info. I'm 17. We left South Africa November 2019, and came here to the land down under, Australia. It's a wonderfully place to live and I've never been happier. Like I said, I'll try to answer as many questions as possible. And thanks for wishing me a happy cake day. As someone who works with a great number of South Africans, the consensus appears to be I love the place. Never going back. Getting my family out. I shot a movie in Cape Town in 2018. So is ducking nuts. I grew up in 80s 90s East La, so I thought I was used to crazy shit, but I had no idea how bad it could get. Houses with 8 feet walls and electric wire at the top, Train cars constantly being set ablaze, a full-on riot near Stellenbosch where our crew told us to avoid because they'd kill anyone not from there, and if the people don't get you the fucking wild baboons will. I almost got robbed by 3 guys walking to my apartment, and the studio had to hire security personnel to escort us to our cars every day after work. SA is one of the most beautiful, amazing, yet insane places I've been to. Yep, good old home. Got myself out of there as soon as I could, now living peacefully in the UK with my mom. Never take long dog walks anywhere you want for granted, haha. My dad had the same idea as you, he got out of here just after I was born, and wanted me and my mother out of SA as well, but due to complications, that never happened, and now it's up to me to escape this shithole. In the eastern part of Kazakhstan, there is a place, Dead Lake. It is small in size, surrounded by beautiful scenery, far from residential buildings, but it has a bad reputation. People drown in the lake almost every year. Locals try to bypass this strange place, which attracts tourists. The water in the Dead Lake, even in the summer heat, is simply icy. There are no fish, no algae, trees along the shore do not grow, and even mosquitoes. Divers who decided to dive say, in a couple of minutes they catch their breath, there is not enough air, for some unknown reason. La Modelo. A prison in Bogo. A few years back they cleaned out the remains of over 100 individuals butchered and then thrown in the sewers below it. Charming place. Thompson, Manitoba is the most dangerous city in Canada with the highest crime rate. The highest crime rate in Canada rotates between a lot of scummy sub-100k cities. Manitoba seems to have lots of winners. Okay, so Egypt, Mississippi, and Manitoba got it. Mexico, border cities. All of them are quite violent. Sometimes I wish I didn't live in Mexico, other times I love this place, I wish Mexico was safer. I'm Brazilian, and I have always wanted to visit Mexico. What are the least violent states? Is Quintana Roo among them still? Quintana Roo have high cartel activity, is really popular to tourists but is full with drug cartel people. BQs is a great market for selling drugs, selling women, extortion, kidnapping, money laundering etc., and several cartels are fighting for the place. Just remember several years ago the massacre of blue parrots in Playa del Carmen, that some sicarios went to the nightclub and start to massacre the clients. New Zealand. Tinder. As a Kiwi, I was struggling to think of an answer. This works. I'm not from NZ and I was walking back from the ferry late one night and was lost and walking through a kinda sketchy industrial area. An older woman literally drove over and asked if she could drop me somewhere closer to where I needed to go. Another time I got picked up by a trucker while hitchhiking. He told me he logged me as a guest in his truck so I was covered by insurance in case we had an accident, then he bought me a meal at a gas station. Another time I got picked up hitchhiking on the way to a national park for a walk. Driver said he wouldn't drop me until I came home for lunch and some extra water for camping. Honestly, I get into sketchy situations a lot while traveling cause I like adventure, and in NZ everyone was so nice and wholesome, it was so chill. I had the same kind of experiences in Norway, with the added bonus of the entire citizenry being a walking tourist board. Not only was I helped, fed, and looked after, they all gave me travel recommendations and guided tours as they were doing it. The national anthem is "I love this country," and they all live by it. Indian here. Late night at Delhi is dangerous. A politician's son will rape you and you won't get any justice. High Court and even Supreme Court don't give a duck because money talks. The remains of the 4th reactor of the Chernobyl power plant. The street in Yorkshire, England. It's a calm-looking river on the surface but is incredibly dangerous and has killed many people. Source: www.examinerlive.co.uk. News. Local news. Innocent-looking stretch Yorkshire River 186151167.amp. Tom Scott did a video on it a couple of years ago. U2.b. Abducting course he has. I am from South Africa, so. All of it. My sister's partner is South African. Anytime we bring up our home countries he never has anything nice to say about it and repeatedly tells us he's never going back. I have plenty of nice things to say about SA. But I'm never going back.